Yeah, that's right, Emily. So, a hallmark of the Apple event is when Steve Jobs, at the end of the event, would announce one more thing. Behind him, a giant screen would appear, a dark screen with white letters saying one more thing. Tim Cook has eschewed that in recent product announcements. But this time, sure enough, one more thing is indeed the Apple Watch, a wearable device we know they've been working on for years. They've had at least 150 people at their nearby Cupertino headquarters working on this wearable device, the details of which are being announced just now.
Back with us, Paul Kedrosky, our Bloomberg contributing editor from San Diego, as well as Wired's deputy editor, Joe Brown, with me here in the studio, and Keith Rabois of Khosla Ventures. We were watching Apple play luxurious music as it unveiled this watch with a rectangular face, a smartwatch that doesn't actually look like a watch. Joe, first thoughts?
I really want to not want that thing, but it looks really hot. From the sort of swappable bands to that magnetic latch on the strap, I mean, I have always said I will not wear a wearable, I wear a real watch. I'm going to try and stick to that line as long as I can, but that thing's definitely pretty good looking.
So this passes the acid test. To me, the real question for a product like this is, if it had no functionality whatsoever, would you wear it? And this clearly passes that test.
Multiple bands that can be swapped in and out. Paul, you going to wear this thing?
No, I mean, I'm still not there yet. Yeah, these are all lovely, and it's a beautiful design device.
I love him.
Yeah. But I still don't get over the hurdle of what does it do for me that I want to go backwards in time and take a device whose functionality has fundamentally been absorbed by a general purpose device, a cell phone, and go back and say, you know what, I want that back on my wrist again. I'm not there.
Let's talk about this. Apple, here we are, is redesigning a product that has existed for hundreds of years.
Well,
does that dilute the brand at all?
No. Let's take a step back and talk about what a watch is, right? It's, for men, one of the only permissible forms of jewelry. And that's a big market,
And
right?
more men wear watches than women.
Yes, that's true. And fewer men wear wearables than women. So I had originally come into this thinking, okay, they're going to aim this squarely at women because women actually wear wearable devices, but this is a complete opposite take. It's actually trying to get men who will categorize themselves as watch guys, from what I've seen so far, to wear something that is more form than function.
Keith, why would you wear this?
Well, I was looking, first of all, it just looks beautiful, and so absolutely the aesthetics are incredibly appealing. Secondly, a device like a phone is not very good for active sports. So, for example, if you play basketball or soccer, you can't have your phone on you. So if you're going to track and measure yourself, and you're going to have this fitness and health orientation, you need something that's capable of being wearing. Now, this looks pretty metallic, so I don't know if I'm going to get away with this in my soccer league. They have to tape it up or something, but
no.
I'm incredibly compelled by it.
Paul, we know that Apple has almost never been first to market. They didn't have the first computer or the first smartphone or the first tablet, and now we have them redesigning a hundreds-year-old product. Does that matter?
No, I think it has all the hallmarks. You can see the obvious appeal, right? It has all the hallmarks of a category that Apple would like to reinvent. There was a long time we talked about Apple reinventing television for all the same reasons, albeit not a 100-year-old category, but a category that looked like it had become, completely stale and lacking innovation and people getting wrapped up in all the wrong sorts of functionality. And so the watch has all of those characteristics. And so you can see why that makes sense to Apple. I still fall back on my original point, though. Having said all of those things, it also is a device that looks like much of its most important functionality has been pulled into other devices, with the exception of some very interesting health and fitness edge cases that do not, to my mind anyways, represent the kind of market that's really going to add materially to Apple's bottom line.
Okay, so it looks nice.
Yep.
You guys have agreed, but is it going to change the way we behave? Are we going to answer calls on this, check messages? Are we going to use this to track all of these different things about our body?
I think what Paul said is really accurate. I mean, this relies upon an ecosystem more than sort of acting as a standalone device. You have a bunch of apps that already exist that this can play with, and that's a really nice value add. Will it change Apple's business? I mean, I think probably the answer is no, given that you probably could add a business the size of Jawbone. They could, and it still wouldn't change Apple.
Well, this is Tim Cook's first new product under, Apple under Tim Cook. Keith, do you see them, could they create a bigger, a lot of people wear watches.
I actually think this could be massive because it basically unlocks new value propositions. So this is, as the phone becomes a replacement for your desktop, because that's what basically this new phablet and landscape mode is going to do, is you're going to do all your email and all your work in this mode. This is basically the new phone. So the smallest, or iPod or iPhone, it's the smallest device that allows you to be functional all of the time. You're going to wear your watch 24 hours a day, so it's always with you.
Corey Johnson, do you want to wear this? Will you also use it?
I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm pretty festooned with my gadgets as it is.
I know you
know,
are.
I think what's interesting. Yeah, right. So I regularly wear a heart rate monitor on my wrist from Mio. I've got my Jawbone up that monitors sort of my exercise, or at least my exercise activity, and that's the right thing for me. One wonders if Apple might be looking at smaller use cases for products that aren't such global devices that everyone's going to want to have them. To some level, the smartphone's already that, right? Certainly the tablet is. It's only for the most wealthy people in the society, in the global society. That's a big market. I think that when Apple looks at this, though, you know, it brings to mind, I mentioned I saw Dr. Oz here earlier, and some healthcare companies around as well, that they look at this not just as a way to tell time and as a way to make phone calls, but as a way to participate in this growing market of monitoring health in all forms, not just the extreme exercises, you know, people like Paul and I trudging around in bikes and running long distances and so on, but people monitoring their health in a society and with technologies that can help provide information to their medical professionals so that the technology is much more incorporated into their life with their phone, with their tablet, and yes, with this wearable.
Now, now that we know that the watch has indeed been unveiled, we don't know yet how much it's going to cost. Paul, a question I asked earlier, but now that we know that this thing is happening, why do you need a watch if you have a phone that's that good?
So I think the argument, and I'm kind of, you know, making this up as I go along, so feel free to stop me. But I mean, so my argument would be that Apple sees how consumers are steadily moving to larger and larger devices, and these larger and larger phones are increasingly becoming, you know, cumbersome, even if they're thinner and they're curved and everything else. So there's now, by that sort of migration up market in terms of form factors, there's increasingly a hole at the bottom of the market that used to be where you had flip phones and smaller devices for making calls and doing texting and whatever else, and as well as all of these other health and fitness apps. So in a sense, they're creating a hole in the market by consumer behavior moving up market. And so, you know, there's your argument for why you might have something like this to your wrist. It's because phones have gotten so damn big.
What companies out there should be worried, Keith? I mean, you guys are investing in companies that are trying to, A, develop for these devices or maybe make watches of their own.
I don't think any company should be worried. I think every company should, you know, quarterback their own strategy and execute it with a different value proposition that's compelling for their users. But I think this product is going to be attractive, and maybe like the Google Android world should be worried, because now they're going to sync together your iPad, your laptop, your Mac, your phone, and your device. And so there's going to be an incredible ecosystem, and you're going to feel naked if some of the communications and some of the data doesn't go from point 1 to point 2 to point 3, point 4. And if Apple's really paying attention, actually you'll feel really bad and naked if your friends aren't on the same ecosystem. And so if they get that right, then it doesn't matter what Android does.